Can render continue to rally? Let's discuss. So hey everyone, welcome back to Upside Down Data. Today I want to talk about render, RNDR, and whether or not it can continue to rally in this sort of mini alt season that we currently seem to be in. So render was one of the assets that performed very well with the AI hype coming into the year. We can see if we just take a measurement that it was reached a extension of around 620% to the upside, roughly, from the lows back here all the way through to this rally up here. And now it's trying to push up further. So after a deep correction, we are now pushing back to the upside. So the question is, can we break above this potential resistance up here at these local highs, and then also these lows here, so a support zone here and a resistance zone here? Can we break above that potential resistance and then set in higher highs, or is it going to stall out at around these levels? So to get an idea of that, one of the things we can look at is our short-term upside downside potential indicator. So this is one of the models that we have here on the channel. We have it on our website, polaritydigital.io, link to that in the description. And basically this is our short-term risk model. So it looks at moves that play out over days to weeks. That's the time frame it cares about. And it's looking at the relative upside versus downside potential. So higher levels mean higher risk, lower levels mean lower risk. And we see that at the start of this move, the short-term UDPI was all the way down at about negative 3.38 or so. And now we've been moving up. But notably, we're still below zero. And so that means that in the short term, the model still thinks there's more plausible upside potential versus downside potential for render. And so if it wants to continue to go, there's certainly room for it to continue to move. And in fact, we haven't even hit the same short-term UDPI levels as we did at this local top, and certainly not the levels that we got to at this local top up here. So I think the levels above zero are certainly in play here for render if the broader markets allow, if it wants to take advantage of that. So that's one of the things that I'm looking at. So obviously this is not financial advice. You should make your own evaluations of the data and what you think might be reasonable. But that's what I'm looking at when I'm looking at these data myself. Now, another thing we can look at then is kind of beyond the short term. Is the broader, more longer term outlook for render bullish or is it bearish? And that's where our forecast model can be very useful. So this is basically estimating the probability of upside 6 months in the future. So how likely is it that render's price will be above where it is right now 6 months in the future? And so basically what you can see is that in the past, in these bullish times, you'll have the forecast model just very elevated. Here it's plastered to the top as we were about to go into this big bull move here, and then it stayed elevated through these levels as we moved up. But then as we put in the all-time high back here in November of 2021, you can see that the forecast model fell off a cliff. It was estimating only a 7% chance of upside in 6 months, and indeed we went down into the bear market. But then as we kind of stabilized, it then got bullish, very bullish, all the way up to about 90% chance of upside right around here, and then off to the races we went. Now it has been slowly moving down as we've been kind of pushing up at these year-to-date highs and trying to get back up to them, but it still remains in a bullish footing. So about currently estimating 64% chance of upside 6 months in the future. And so basically it's not macro bullish. And so what that might mean is that if we were to get a push up higher here, maybe the model would suddenly start to be a little bit less mega bullish about it in the medium term. Maybe there need to be some consolidation before we could move further to the upside. But it's basically saying that if it had to put its money on one side or the other, it's putting it more on the bullish side than the bearish side. And so that's where if we do see a push to new year-to-date highs for render, then I'm going to be watching things like, what are the short-term UDPI saying? Is it getting really overextended here? And also, what's the forecast model saying? If it falls way down, that might mean that a notable local top is forming, maybe something more like this or like this, where you're going to have to have a deeper correction, spend more time consolidating before maybe being able to push back to the upside. Whereas if the forecast model actually were to rebound to the upside and get really bullish again, then that actually might be an indication that something has changed in the market, that things have now flipped even more bullish, and you might just expect the ride to continue for more parabolic action. So some of that will depend a little bit on what happens here. But I think short-term render has room to move if it wants to. And then what I'm going to be watching for is how high does the short-term UDPI get? And the further we get above zero here, the more and more likely I think it is we'll set in a notable local top. And then I'll be looking at models like the forecast model to see, Does it confirm a bearish outlook by dipping all the way down here, for example? Or does it actually change its mind a little bit? Maybe we consolidate here more, it starts moving up, but then price moves up as well. And then maybe it actually reestablish more of a bullish footing, which would maybe set up continuation to the upside. So some of that's going to be data dependent, or a lot of that's going to be data dependent, where I'm personally going to be watching the data as it happens in real time to see what happens. So if you want to be able to watch the data for yourself in real time, you can go to our website, PolarityDigital.io, and if you sign up to our Polarity Digital Pro subscription service, you can view live data from all of our models and a lot more. So I encourage you to check that out if you are interested. And so overall then, my thoughts with Render right now is that even with the strength that's already shown, even with this pump is already shown, I think more gas could be in the tank for it. It would not surprise me for it to go and set in new year-to-date highs. But then it's going to be really data dependent of how high that can go. Can it break above these local resistances that might exist above here, even higher? Or does it get bogged down? And one of the things I think will give us an early warning of that is something like the short-term UDPI and how overextended it starts to get if and when Render were to make such a move. All right, so yeah, if you want to view our models, you can go over to our website, PolarityDigital.io. And if you like the content, subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and follow us on X. Put a lot of updates about our models and more over there.